Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. It is April Fool's Day, but we're not joking around. Well, we might be joking around. I don't know. You'll just have to tune in. So today we're going to talk about a few different things, but as always, how's it going today, Michael?
Good. I totally forgot that it's April Fool's Day. Do you?
I was trying to think of something clever, and then when we started this a little bit earlier, I was laughing because I got on LinkedIn. And I'm a little rattled, so that shook my creativity for what to say for April Fools. But that'd be a good one, David.
Is that what happened when I first got in here? So,
yeah,
I just need to know the history behind it. April Fool's Day is a day of pranks and hoaxes, and it is believed to have originated in France in the 1500s. The holiday may have stemmed from the transition to the Georgian calendar, which caused confusion about the New Year's date. Today belongs to the pranksters. That's not much history. I wish there was more depth to this, but apparently that's it. I'll have to ask our other friend, but that's
over
from a
500 years of tradition is enough reason for that, right? I'm not one for a whole lot of April Fool's stuff. When I worked in an office, it was a little bit more fun. But now I just stay off social media, stay off of everything else because you can't trust anything. But I saw a good one today, and it rattled me a little bit, and I thought that was funny. So, happy April Fools to those who are celebrating. Hope you are successful in your pranks and trickery.
I've never, to me, what would I do? Because to be honest, I'm pretty transparent and honest. So I feel like I feel if I prank somebody, I'm just going to get bad karma. So I don't want to do it.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some good ones out there, but
what would you do if you were in an office, since I am in an office?
I don't know. I can't give away all my secrets because someone's going to be like, actually there was this time 8 years ago. And maybe that was you.
Just give one.
I mean, I'm especially in an office, I'm a sucker with messing with mice. Like put a piece of tape over the laser, or remember like back in the old days. Here's one for, does Michael remember? This should be its own series. A trackball. Yeah, not the thumb wheel, but the ball underneath the mouse.
Yeah, the ball
underneath. To take it out and clean it and stuff. But yeah, you could do things. But anyway.
We should have a series of Does Michael Remember? But I feel like that's a win for me because I do remember. And yes, I've definitely taken out the trackball before.
There you go. Well, maybe one of these days we're going to do a Does Mike Remember? And it'll be like on your birthday or your anniversary or something.
Okay. Well, mine is coming up in June.
This is true. Take a screenshot of someone's desktop and then show it on their desktop. That way, when they're clicking on icons, nothing happens. Like that'll drive you mad.
But how do you show it as a full screen and someone not know they're in a picture app?
You set that as the image. See, back in the day when we could change our own computer wallpapers, it could be done, but we can't do that anymore.
Alrighty.
But anywho, no, there was some fun stuff on LinkedIn this morning with new features. Since it is new feature season for Autodesk, there was a list of like, hey, this is new in AutoCAD. And I was like, what? And I was reading all of it until the bottom when I saw April Fool's. And I was like, darn it, got me.
What was the new feature?
Oh, it's just all what AI can do.
Oh.
I was like, ooh, really? But, yep, got me. So
maybe I should have made an April Fool's video, man. See, I need to embrace it at some point next year.
Right? Just keep you on your toes. We'll do a makeup episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today's topic is going to be in the spirit of new things. There are two big conferences coming up this year. Well, there's probably more than that, but there's two that we're going to talk about today. The first one is Bluebeam Unbound at the end of September in Washington, D.C., and the second one is Autodesk University in mid-September in Nashville, Tennessee. So why are we talking about both of these? Well, these are both conferences that tend to have great opportunities to level up your career, to level up your standing in the community, to level up your presentation skills, which is what we're going to focus on today. But also, both of these conferences have a deadline within the next 2-ish weeks. So the deadline for Bluebeam is
they're both the same day.
April 15th. No.
What?
Oh.
What happened? I thought it was the 17th for Bluebeam.
Oh, let me double check. I got it on my thing here. Yeah, deadline is midnight, Tuesday, April 15th. Tax day.
Hold on.
Yep.
Hold the front door. Okay, I believe you.
I'll start sharing my screen here. But it's one of those things where Autodesk one is 2 days later.
Right? There's the call for presenters.
Yeah, so the Unbound today. Bluebeam Unbound submission deadline is April 15th. So this gives you 2 weeks from today to figure out what you're going to do. And then, if you're intending or want the challenge of potentially speaking at both of them, some of the same strategies, I will say, apply to both of them. Right?
How many people do you think are going to go to both conferences? Let's be honest. I think
it's going to be very, very rare.
Yeah.
For one, that's a lot of money, right? Because you've got 2 expensive cities that are hotels and lodging and food. The registration will be free if you're speaking, right? But still, that's basically 2 whole weeks away from work. And I think that'll be the harder part. But I can see folks like CAD managers or technology managers or, design technology, whatever new job title they have these days.
Well, I think it's going to be like one of those things. It'll be even for us. Well, the only way we'll go to both is if we both get accepted to Unbound and AU, right? Otherwise, it'll be one or the other for us.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I have a preference.
That's a hard one because I don't know what this Unbound's going to be like comparative to XCon. To me, either way, I'll be happy to speak at either of them. So,
right. And there are going to be different categories. There are different things, and this is what we want to do today: is help you shape your proposal as well as identify some ideas that might be needed. There are some things that are exciting, and there's some things that you're like, I wouldn't go to that, right? But there's something for everybody, right? These courses that are chosen are not hidden behind some sort of magic committee or whatever. They're generally going for things that are needed in the industry, or things that have been popular before, especially on the case of AU. There's some classes there that have been pretty much the same for the past 10 to 15 years, and they still get attendees, so keep them going, right?
I still believe that there's some type of AI that filters and sorts that meets the criteria of this presenter guidelines, and then it goes through a review.
It's funny that you mentioned AI because that's going to come up later today for sure. So let's start with Bluebeam first, right? There are guidelines clearly on the site. So when you think about I'm going to go teach a class on how to use the toolbox in Bluebeam Review, it seems like a great idea. I would go to that. Lots of people would go to that. However, there are specific categories that they are looking for. So if AI was screening those and you didn't say certain key phrases, right, there's a tip there too, that it's probably going to get kicked out. So let's look at the categories again. Breaking barriers. Tell us how you've embraced software interoperability to break down data silos across teams, time zones, projects to enable a more collaborative, sustainable future. So let's talk about this one. What would that be? Would that be using software interoperability? So are they talking about integrations? Are they talking about, Revit to Bluebeam as we've done before? Is it talking about 3D PDFs? Is it talking about review to Excel or Power BI or things like that, where you're using that data outside of the PDF or using that PDF in different places? That's how I would probably look at that. But also across time zones and projects. So maybe that's leveraging
Internationally, Studio.
But how does that work? I mean, because Studio requires different servers depending on the country. So maybe not different countries or continents, but it would be time zones.
It doesn't require different countries. That's just if you want to have your information stored in that local server, like as a requirement.
Right. It just makes things a little trickier.
Yeah.
But that could be it for Studio projects and introducing those workflows inside of Review that exist but maybe aren't leveraged enough. So that's the software interoperability part. Or what? I don't know. That's a tough one. I would struggle with that one a little bit, because I think that some of these categories are limiting, and they might reduce a little bit of the how-to. I will say that, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when we start talking about Autodesk, but I attended Autodesk University last year. Michael, you spoke at Autodesk University last year. But while I was at the booth, there were a number of people, when you're making the small talk, I'm like, hey, how's your conference going? Did you take any cool classes? And there was a repeat theme that the classes were more what if and less how to.
Yep.
So like, what if AI could do all our jobs? And what if robots could fold origami? And what if blah, 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 blah?
People are over the theory. Yeah.
Yeah, like, don't give me the theory. Like, I need to walk away from this with knowledge that justifies my attendance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the theme that I think that I'm going to apply to my presentation submissions, is that I want to make sure that people are walking away with actionable something, right? Because if you come back, oh, yeah, we sent you to Nashville. We sent you to Washington, D.C. What did you learn? Well, I learned that AI is coming and it's going to do our jobs for us. You're probably not going to go back next year, because we all know that AI is coming for our jobs. Not really. April Fools? I don't know. But it's one of those things where we want to think about that as we're going through. And if you've got a case study, an example of like, hey, we were never doing this before and now we are, that's perfect for breaking barriers.
Yep.
Next is innovation.
And I think it's like workflows too, right? So
maybe
interoperability workflows. I could see something if someone was using like Excel for quantity takeoffs, the interoperability between Procore, right? Yeah. Or between Newforma. That's the thing with Unbound. It has to be centric around Bluebeam as a starting point or an end point or a midpoint, but there's a lot of other solutions that offer capabilities within it and from it. Mm-hmm. So anyways, onward.
Second category is innovation at scale. Have you successfully implemented new technology or processes across your organization? Share expert insights into what it takes to transcend impossible. So this one's tricky too. Like, how do you implement new technology? Is that like, hey, I was using Adobe and now I'm switched to Bluebeam and here's how we did it? Because technically that would be innovation, right? You're implementing a new technology. However, the people there are not going to be a bunch of Adobe users wondering if they should switch to Bluebeam. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's where you sort of know your audience type of thing. And this would be a great opportunity to learn something new. Like, I would say that what people say impossible, it probably is, or we thought it could be. And there's all sorts of ways that people are doing this. This is looking at Doug with his Power Query stuff. Like, that's not possible. Oh, yeah, it is. There you go. So that's a good one I don't have any ideas for this one though, because I mean, obviously, our organization is a little different than most organizations, so I couldn't say that I've got a success story.
I'm interested in like what do they mean by implementing new processes and technology. So I mean, we did something about that, like instructing the ability to scale that and um, allow people to innovate with it. So this one is probably all about how do you implement a new solution
Mm-hmm.
and have a large adoption rate. Like, what are some keys to success on adoption rates for those scenarios?
Yeah, definitely could be. And then we get to the final category of unleashing human creativity. Unbound celebrates human ingenuity. Show us how you've used out of the box thinking to develop bold new ways of tackling your most pressing challenges. So they celebrate human ingenuity for now until the AI overlords take their place. Just kidding. Um, Out of the box thinking, again, I'm going to point towards some of the things that they do already that Bluebeam has available and tricks that are underutilized. I'm going to say like dashboards, the digital dashboards that we've covered here on MCR before. And Michael, I know you've written blogs and white papers about those. But I don't talk to a whole lot of firms that are leveraging dashboards. But when they're leveraged right, man, they save so much time.
I mean, they're going to be more effective in Bluebeam Cloud now than ever. I didn't even think about creating a class around that. I was going to do a class about something different. But that could be a good course on how to develop a digital dashboard and what are the benefits of it.
Yeah, because, okay, going back up, embrace data interoperability and break down data silos. That one could also fall under a digital dashboard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because now we're looking at not necessarily interoperability. Well, you can switch
Well, it
some
could
things.
link to
Hmm.
Google Docs or something, right? Something in that nature. Um, that'd be
ACC.
interoperability. Yeah. I mean, I've never tried an ACC link, but that would be a good idea. That would be breaking the barriers of understanding if we could link to those different solutions. Um, yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, those are the three categories, right? So hopefully that got your wheels turning a little bit, but there's some more guidelines in here. So you can download presenter guidelines from this link,
What does that say?
which
Yeah.
takes you here, right? Let me just double check. I have the right link. Oh, it was different.
That doesn't say. I think that was to actually submit.
Is that what I hit? Apply today?
Yeah, apply today.
Yeah. So there's a Microsoft form that tells you complete the form. Each selected speaker receives one complimentary registration ticket. If you've already registered and purchased your ticket, your registration fee will be refunded. On that note, if you haven't registered yet and you're putting all your faith in speaking, go for it. But this gives you that way out, especially if you use our registration code. So Unbound ATG will save you 20% off of the fee. I believe it is still early bird through the end of May. So you'd save 20% off of the early bird pricing. And there are some other passes there if you want to get training, or if you want to take the certification exam for free, you can do that as well. But through the end of May, you would save 20% off of your pass. Well, the whole time, but might as well save an extra 20% now.
How
Right?
much
So
are AU tickets?
$1 million. Overview. Let's see. I know they're still at the call for proposals. I don't know if registration's open yet. It's a lot more than $800. right?
That's what I was wondering.
Frequently asked questions. Seems like one of them. Registration will be opening in May.
So they haven't listed how much they are yet.
I would say that if you're planning for this, you should probably tell me now, right? Because I want to say it's over $2,000.
What was last year's? Let me Google.
Yeah, I mean,
AU 2024 ticket price.
I know there's different levels depending on whatever.
Australian Grand Prix. That's not what I'm saying. Autodesk University.
It might not be $2,000. Maybe it's like $1,400 or something like that.
Just tell me the price.
Right? I got to get my chat rolling.
I can't find the price from last year. Yeah, it was. So this is how much was AU? So from the early bird ticket prices, it was $2,000. From July to August, it was $2,100. From September to October 17th, it was $2,250.
Yeah, Brian said it's $2,150, and early bird was $1,600 to $1,700. So over double. Bluebeam Unbound, but still, like, I wish they would tell you the prices now, because that does affect if you're planning on going, if you're planning on, submitting. I don't know if AU has the whole refund thing like Bluebeam does, right? Already
AU.
purchased.
So you're saying speakers? Speakers just they don't have a refund. You get a ticket.
You can't register before you submit.
You submit before you register. Like they have you submit before registration happens, and then when registration's enabled, you will have already known if you're a speaker or not.
This is true.
Yes.
So
and then they give complimentary 2 passes, meaning if you have a guest speaker, only 2 though. So meaning yourself and one other for co-speakers. After that, if you have more people that are co-speakers, they have to pay their way in. Which is weird that Unbound wouldn't even do that. What if you're having a co-speaker? They say, no way, Jose. Our tickets are cheap compared to AU. Maybe that's why.
It could be. It could be. And that's one of the things, that they are cheaper, but still, Washington, D.C. is not a cheap city to go to. But who's to say? So let's look at this a little bit more. There's a line in the chat, first year of Unbound seems risky. We don't know what they're planning. We know what AU is like. And I'm going to put an asterisk on that. We thought we knew what AU was like. From the first few years that I went when it was in Las Vegas, it was pretty predictable. It's going to be at Venetian, or it's going to be at Mandalay Bay, and it's going to swap every year, and you're going to walk a lot, and you've got this and you've got that, and you knew what you were going to do. Last year, it went to San Diego, and I think the experience was totally different. The expo hall was different. Getting the classes was different. It was a unique experience. And now they're going to Nashville. Nashville's going to be probably a little smaller, I would say. The space in San Diego was, I'm going to say, too big.
Yeah, the expo hall was not visited nearly enough.
It was laid out kind of interesting, and
it was almost like XCon, where people didn't travel to the expo hall because it was downstairs. It was exactly like XCon because people didn't travel to the expo hall because it was downstairs.
Right.
Yeah.
So XCon. So going back to 2022, San Diego. So it's been a theme. San Diego was for XCon, Esri, and Autodesk, plus all the other ones that happened there. But that's a really good point, Ben, too. They have an expo hall that normally used to be like the place to go. After your classes, you go to expo hall. That's where you walk around, get some free beverages.
All the new stuff.
See the new stuff. See the robots. See the technology. See the 3D printers. See the cool stuff. Get all your swag. Like, that was the hangout spot.
Yep.
Um, at the Esri conference, it was not like that at all. There was an expo hall, but there was no beverages. There was no. I mean, there was only bottled the water jugs where you go fill up a paper cup. There wasn't anything to keep you there, right? So it was quite interesting. At XCon, they had more mixers and it was a little bit more friendly, but the expo hall was downstairs in
Mm-hmm.
this sort of back room. Not really a back room, but it didn't have the I have to go there. Whereas AU, it's always been you have to go to the expo hall. This year, or last year,
Last year,
2024,
yeah.
was a little bit more spread out. And there were a number of folks that I had talked to afterwards, like, oh, we didn't even see your booth. I'm like, really? We had a big one. It was right here. And like, oh, I didn't even go over there.
Yep.
That expo hall was massive. Um, it was the same expo hall where they had the Esri conference, and they had that whole place filled up. So that's where like the venue makes a difference. And I was a little happy that AU announced that they're not going back to San Diego. Esri will be there, of course. Again, I think they've been there the past 10 years. Um, they're going to go to Nashville. I didn't look at where it's going to be in Nashville. Music City Center. It sounds pretty good. I don't know where it is, um, but I do like me some music. So they've got a convention center, and maybe we'll use this later. Um, oh, that's a pretty cool looking building.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. So the thing is just how it's organized and how they station things. I'm
Hmm.
glad that they're not gonna have the I wonder, are they having those same people that were making people pay a ton of money for everything?
I
Who's
don't know.
running the thing out in San Diego?
Oh, I forget. I don't know. But look, we got, you can even download the floor plans. We did this before. Maybe we'll do it again. So there's a grand ballroom, there's the exhibit hall. So it looks a little smaller.
I'm wondering how many speakers they're gonna have this year. That is super small.
It is super small. So, on that note,
So if you make it in this year as a speaker, that is wild. It is
this is
way smaller than. Go back to that top one. No, sorry, middle one. My
the
bad.
expo hall.
That's gonna be the X wall at the top. They could probably break these out into a couple of rooms here, but
Yeah, I mean, does it have an adjacent building? I don't know. Um, so let's go to
I'm
maps
wondering how
here.
many people are going to get accepted this year.
Well, I want to say that there's some other things going on. Okay, so that's all that building. Is that where the Country Music Hall of Fame is? Because that'd be cool. Um, I mean, look, there's overflow, and I'm guessing that some of these hotels are already booked. Um,
What's that stadium? Go right there, that thing.
Bridgestone Arena.
Maybe the arena would have classes too.
Eh, you'd think that it would tell you that. Um, but also, Matt, time to start looking at concerts nearby too. Um, but let's talk the state of the world right now. Um, a lot of countries are having travel restrictions or travel warnings about coming to the U.S.
Wait, what?
because of what's going on. Yeah. Um,
That's a real thing?
oh, it's very much a real thing.
Hmm.
It is currently, focused on um, certain individuals, but given what's going on in our things, it's not guaranteed that we're going to have the same amount of international visitors as we've had in previous years, right? Because there are legitimate warnings about people coming to the U.S., and there's also some things that may, especially if we don't know the cost yet, like we don't know exactly what's going to happen in September when it comes to travel in America. So they might be planning on having a smaller experience because of that.
Hmm.
And I would say the same thing for Bluebeam Unbound. This doesn't say that they're going to do one in London or overseas like they did with Bluebeam Live.
So you're thinking that there's going to be a lot less international travel, even with like a conference like this, which is more visa driven?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and even Canadians. They said the Canadian travel to the U.S. has dropped by 70%.
So we're saying the international travel to the U.S., not U.S. externally traveling.
Correct.
Hmm.
Like, because when you go to AU, it's a beautiful melting pot, mixing pot, because you've got
It
people from
is. Yeah. I
Greece
remember.
and China and Korea, and everybody is there to learn and share their experiences, and
Yeah, we
how they
had
design
some
is different.
conversations Matt and I did at the speaker hall with people from Germany, and they were there to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that part is cool. I love that part, but I would say that part is threatened by the
Hmm.
current state of affairs. So maybe that's why they're planning a smaller venue for AU. Hopefully not. Because yeah, looking at this, there's not a lot of meeting rooms in comparison to other things, but still, you know, first floor, second floor, third floor, grand
Expo
ballroom.
hall.
Mm-hmm.
That grand ballroom, if that's the expo hall, it's going to be the same exact thing where people, unless they have and require you to go there to get food, no one's going to go all the way up to that. What is that? The fourth floor. Like
Yeah.
they they need a yeah.
I don't know. Lots of elevators and escalators, but yeah, this was planned long before the current state of the world. But still, it looks like they were planning on shrinking it down a little bit. And I wonder, is that to filter the content or to just make it more meaningful?
Or maybe they knew.
Or who knows? Who knows? But it'd be interesting, which makes, to tie it back to our topic, makes how you approach your submittals for these classes a little different, right? Let's go back to Unbound. So your applications are due in 2 weeks, which means you have a week to get it done. And then you have a couple days to maybe have somebody review it for you. And then you have a couple days to lament if you want to hit submit button, and then hit submit. If you're selected, I believe that says in here, I'm going to jump ahead. There we go. If you're selected, you'll be notified on May 26th. That gives you 4 days to confirm.
Wow.
So if you get that, you have to confirm, and then they roll it out. So the deadlines here are pretty aggressive, because your class has to be done within a couple months here to get that over to Bluebeam.
It's a month
Mm-hmm.
to be done and sent it over.
Yeah.
AU gives you like a cadence of things to hit along the way where you're not rushing.
Yep. So this does give you plenty of time to practice, which you should do, and we'll get to that here in a second. But going back to Unbound, like I said, some of this applies to AU and Bluebeam or any other conference. Having your presentation title, description, abstract, a bulleted outline, conference theme. These are things that maybe AI could help you with. Just saying. I did see a ChatGPT prompt that was already programmed for AU. It's out there on LinkedIn. But also, we've got a couple different things to think about. So we've got the 3 themes: breaking barriers, innovating at scale, unleashing human creativity, and then it breaks down into 4 topics or 4 user levels. Basic. Submission presents a general understanding of introductory concepts. Attendees do not need prior knowledge to understanding presentation material. Intermediate. Submission presents a more detailed, in-depth look at industry workflows. And attendees should have some prior experience and knowledge before attending this presentation. Advanced submission presents very detailed, in-depth material with an opportunity to gain new knowledge and apply learnings. There should be a clean call to action. Attendees will need prior experience and knowledge before attending this presentation. And then
Mm-hmm.
expert level. Submission presents concepts and trainings made for Bluebeam power users and industry experts. Submission provides a detailed analysis and fully engages with the audience. Attendees have extensive prior knowledge before attending this presentation. This is tough because I don't know how many of these people are going to be there. Right? If you're listening
Such a
to
question.
this,
Yeah.
you're going to be in one of these two levels. Right? I don't know how many basic people are going to be there. Would you send somebody who's never doesn't really know Bluebeam to a conference?
Right before AU.
I don't think I would as a AEC professional.
Mm-mm.
Intermediate, sure. I would expect that this is where it's going to be pretty heavy, and then expert's going to be kind of light. There's not a lot of pure experts, and if you are an expert, there's not a whole lot that would interest you.
And I would almost say that those folks are probably going to go to AU.
Yeah, they could be. But Doug is saying that there was quite a few people at XCon 22 that barely knew the software. And maybe that was a different year, right?
And that was in San Diego.
San Diego,
right after
COVID kind of thing. Getting back into the swing of things. Now, firms are a little tighter with their finances. They're a little tighter with their time. It is a different thing.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would agree on that statement that it's not a free for all of like being able to travel and go anymore. It's definitely people are looking from even larger companies like Autodesk laying off folks recently, right? People are scaling down and making sure they're essentially just tidying up their workforce. Do they have that within the budget also to send you to A, 2 conferences, B, which one's the best conference for you to attend to get the most knowledge out of, right? Some folks, this is one of their predominant solutions, or it's part of an overall workflow, right? So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, certainly. And catching up on the chat, Brian says, a small construction firm that needs someone to get started managing Bluebeam, could see them being there. Yeah, absolutely. But then
we'll scroll up to the price. Hold on. What's the pricing again?
$800 for early bird before
early
our
bird.
20% discount. So $640.
Yeah.
Not terrible. But and by golly, it's the first Tuesday of the month, which means Brian's Civil Chat is happening today as well. So tune into that, my fellow civil friends. But let's jump over here to where this is in DC. Right, so we're talking $640 after our Unbound ATG promo code is going to get you. This is a cool shape looking building.
Yeah.
So at the Washington Hilton in DC.
That doesn't include travel costs.
Nope.
Stay. So you'd be upwards of I would say a couple thousand. Right?
Yeah.
2,000.
It's an expensive area. You're just up the street from the White House.
I'm not making the case against it. I'm just saying in terms of like, what are people looking at this year from a spend budget, right?
And that's a very, very good point, because I've talked to firms that are like, man, we didn't even have 2 Bluebeam licenses in our budget.
Mm-hmm.
You mean you're going to send somebody? DC is expensive. I mean, even staying here, this is going to be a $50 Uber ride from the airport.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been to DC.
It's frickin' sweet. I went last.
Are you gonna show me around?
Sure. But also, there is a free guided tour as part of your registration.
So you're pushing me off. I see how it is.
Well, I mean, we'd go do our own thing. But it is an expensive place to get around. Now, granted, in September, the weather's going to be awesome. There are rental bikes and scooters everywhere, and it is a very, very bike-friendly area. And you know me, I love my bicycles. So
it's kind of like Europe. Europe's very bike friendly, like Paris, those locations.
Um,
Rome. Rome's more walking, but yeah.
I will let you know because I'm going. So,
You're going to
but yeah,
Europe?
mhm.
When?
I'm going this year, and I'm going next year.
Ooh.
So,
Where?
my sabbatical, I'm
So
going.
you are going international.
It's booked. It's booked.
Where are you
Yeah.
going? Hold on.
I will.
Nope.
I will.
Stop.
Nope. 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 I will tell you later.
I
I will
already
tell
told
you
you where
later.
I was going for my sabbatical. Can anyone guess where I'm going for my sabbatical? Do you remember where I don't think I told you. Matt knows. Never mind. Let's
I.
not talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Side note, but yeah, sabbaticals are cool. Um. So DC, it's going to be an expensive trip. Um. Uh, Doug said he worked out his cost and about 3,200 Canadian for the week. So not
What's that in
including
American? What's the conversion
two,
rate right now?
depending on, well, by then we don't know. About 2 grand, I would say.
$8. So
I think,
that was a joke, right?
yeah. When I went to
Uh,
Canada a couple weeks ago, it
April
was like
Fools.
$1.50 Canadian was $1 American.
Yeah, it's 2K. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when we were traveling back from I was traveling back from Europe one time, and then we were flying to Canada to go through customs and back to the States. Um we were paying, and it was half the cost.
Yeah. Not bad. So 2 grand is probably a pretty safe bet. Even though the conference is going to be 1,600, your hotel is going to be probably over 150 a night. You know, if you share a room or get a roommate from a coworker, that's one thing. There might be some Airbnbs, but it is very walkable. You shouldn't need a whole lot of travel outside of getting to the airport. Not a lot of airports have airport shuttles, or not a lot of hotels have airport shuttles, I would say. Um, so there's that. But it is a cool spot. Whatever you do not just go to the conference and go home. DC is pretty sweet. Make time to go be a tourist. Um, there's just so much fun stuff to
Whoa, there's the
see.
Pentagon. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, you see that from the airplane.
No
Uh,
way.
yeah. Um, when I went, we did the whole National Mall, the Air and this is the small Air and Space Museum. You want to go to the big one. It's about a 40-minute Uber ride, but it's totally worth it um, to go to Virginia.
There's so
Um,
much stuff here. I didn't realize that.
oh yeah, dude, all the
Where's the White House?
Smithsonian's.
Oh, the
Um,
Smithsonian's.
yeah, White
I'm
House is
such a
right here.
history buff. Um. Oh wow.
I'm telling you, dude, I flipped out. I would go back and I would do some of the same things. I got to go see the Ford Theater and Abraham Lincoln, all that stuff. So make the time to go be a tourist. Um, it's certainly worth it. And you can go see.
It's totally shaped like Europe if you go down and look. Um.
Hmm. Well, it was designed.
These. Yeah.
Oh, we can do a whole thing about urban planning and how this was influenced by different things, including the Illuminati, but that's a different story. Yeah, the Capitol building. I mean, there's so much to see outside of learning and spending some time with your folks. So when I say your folks, your like-minded community folks. So,
I mean, it almost looks like Paris here too, because like how it has the roundabout circulation
mhm.
of planning. Yeah. Right here. Yeah.
So thanks for putting that in, Doug. He said the hotel rate for the conference is $309 a night. So could you find something cheaper? Maybe, but is it worth it to just be on site? Yeah.
100%. Always.
Yeah.
I will tell
Um,
you firsthand, always best to be on site. If you're paying a couple extra, don't walk. Trust me. And you can go back and take a break in the middle of the conference. It is
mhm.
completely worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, there are things across the street that would be better. Like, I wouldn't pick something that's more than a few blocks away because, yeah, it is nice to go put your feet up for a little bit, you know, change clothes if you need to. Um, but yeah, if you're thinking about going as a attendee, book your hotel now. If you are wanting to submit a class, you should. Even
Yep.
if you don't get selected, you should practice in going through how to put a presentation together. right? Because even if you don't get selected, and if you assume that you're not going to get selected, still put the work together, because this does help you put things together as a checklist. Did I get my title? Did I meet these things? You know, your chances are just as good as ours of getting in there.
I wonder how the form's laid out, because if you scroll up, this is detailing you. So for those of us that have submitted to AU, they give you exactly what they need for you to submit. Like you get 4, now it's 4 objectives. If I remember correctly, last year was 3 because we had to submit an additional one to get an AIA credit. And then they say description and title. But here they're telling you hit next.
It's right here. First name, company name, job title, blah, blah, blah.
Hit next.
Well, you need pre-approval. Oh. So, like, are you a decision maker?
Oh, this is lame.
It's not going to let me go on.
Yeah.
But,
I haven't submitted yet. I blocked out time Wednesday to do it, but of course everything got booked up. So I blocked out time next week. So hopefully I don't let people book over my submittal times. But anyways,
I cheated the system. So here's your 3 categories. Right? Title. Now, I do wish it would say,
it just saying
said limited 100 characters. I wish it would still give you those guidelines. So,
but it's just saying brief abstract. That's wild. That's funny. I just find it. You are making it more difficult to submit by giving these different titles. Why not just make it aligned with what a typical submission would be, so that you can filter?
If so, you will be required. Okay.
Don't
indicators of success, quantitative or qualitative metrics, intended audience, pre-approval from company. So, you will be required information. So you will need to provide. So make sure you've got pre-approval. Say, hey, this is a good thing to talk to your boss about, right? Like, hey, I'm thinking about submitting for this opportunity, especially if you've never spoken before. For one, speaking as a manager, I want to see my folks push themselves and go outside the box. So yeah, heck yeah. If you get selected, I approve this. Or have that honest conversation now. Like, sorry, that's not in the budget. Go for it. If you get a free pass, we can talk about it. But for the most part, like, get this first. But still, I think you should present anyway. Try to.
Well, with it being in May is when you're going to be notified. That's pretty not that. I guess it's not that far out to book hotels. But the issue, what they did is they let people register now, so people can register and book places. But if you're leaning on being accepted in order to go, you're kind of in a pickle.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where, like, this is, I know it's just April 1st, and we're having this conversation now about things that are happening in September, but it's not too early to prepare. And as you all know, especially if we went through the AU thing, if you didn't book your hotel within the first couple days of AU, you were walking. And I mean, my hotel was almost a mile away, which is fine. I don't mind the walk, but some people can't do that or don't want to do that. Or, you know, that certainly wears you out. So going back to these things, I mentioned that there's a tie-in between AU and Unbound, and there is, right? Because they both have submission guidelines. And as Michael has alluded to, the guidelines for AU are a bit more particular, right? So if you look at this one, and even if you compare what's going on, their call for proposals opened March 20th. It's going to close 2 days after Bluebeam Unbound. Mid-April to mid-May is when they're going to review. Late May is when they're going to communicate. So let's say that is the same exact time as Unbound. You could have a very good email day if you went for both of those, or you could have a very bad one, or you could have a mixed one. Either way, you're gonna find
I
out.
Still think, I mean, either way, for those folks that have never submitted before, it is an honor to be able to submit and see where you landed. And if you don't get accepted, just be aware of what they're looking for you to submit to, right? You want to
Mhm.
align with their objectives, where they're going as a company that year, that align with things that you are innovating and pushing forward, right? And it's not bad to not get accepted. At least you put forth the effort and you tried, right? That's one of the best parts about these. Guess what? Next year, the
Yep.
year after, right? So you're just the ability to try something for the first time if you've never submitted is definitely an honor, right? And it's fun to go through this process and get the reps in for future submittals for different courses. So
And going on that note, what's new for the 2025? And I know it hurts my feelings to view a PDF outside of Bluebeam, but we're already here and we're making the best of the time we've got left for today's episode. But this year, there's a new 20-minute session format. So that's pretty wild. And you're
I
limited to
wonder if
3 per
that's
person.
I wonder if that's specific to accommodating for small classrooms. This year, we will introduce a 20-minute session format. You will have the option of selecting 20 minutes or 50 minutes for your following sessions, panel, case study, and product demo. Note that each session will have 10 minutes to allow for setup and Q&A, giving speakers 30 to 60 minutes total. That's not true. What are you giving for the 20-minute session? So that's giving you a 10-minute session.
No. So 30 minutes total. So you'd have 10 minutes to do setup and Q&A, and then 20 minutes per your session. This
That's
is
such an
wild.
easy clickbait. Like I'm thinking, because I had the YouTube stuff. I feel like how to do Matt. Here's a good one. How to do assemblies in under 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like how to do blank under 20 minutes. That's what it would be for me. Thinking of
Oh,
like submittals. Like this
oh,
is pretty cool because I would definitely do something like how you do something under 20 minutes. That's the title, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, it's only going to take me 20 minutes to go to this class." They're going to try to absorb a lot more of those because if you remember last AU, there wasn't enough how to's. It was more of like
mm-hmm.
theory, future thinking, and people don't want that when they're going to AU. They want to learn, they want to tangibly understand things. The theory part needs to come from Autodesk and where they're thinking of where their platforms are going. You are there as a speaker to divulge information on things that you've learned in the process. Yeah, maybe there's a couple theory ones out there, but there was a lot last year, um, where things are going, projected kind of fuzzy timelines. No, tell me what's going on now. How can I implement this today? Type scenarios. I think it's
Well,
just the demand of humanity in general. We're all, instant gratification. But yeah,
there,
go
you
forward.
hit it right there. Like, nobody wants to read anymore. Like, if
Nope.
you look at social media, even LinkedIn, now there's videos. And it's just you don't even have to watch a 20-minute video. You can watch a 30-second video. Humans are having way less attention span, and they don't want to sit in a 90-minute class.
I'm
Give
so
me,
excited for this 20-minute thing. I have so many
give,
ideas now.
I know, I do too. Um, and it's giving you some good ideas. So, like, hey, if you're going to do a 20-minute class on digital twins, guess what? Not bad, right? So you have more requirements inside of the AU one that again shows you some of these things where you do have more options, but there is a little bit of that overlap with Unbound. A case study, like if it gives you guidelines on solutions you chose that wasn't mentioned in Unbound. I can make my Unbound course a little better if I follow more stringent. Is that the words? Requirements.
Strict, yeah.
Strict. So there are some things in here that are pretty cool. This is a lot harder class to do. Um,
What?
AU is a harder class because you have to do videos and you have to do a lot of stuff before you actually get to Nashville,
Yeah, I would agree.
compared to Unbound where you're just doing it live.
It's a lot more preparation.
Mm-hmm. So again, that goes to your thing.
I like these 20-minute ones. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, being selected is a high honor. Eligible primary speakers of any number of sessions will receive one complimentary pass. Only primary speakers receive the complimentary pass. These are not available to co-speakers, panelists, or Autodesk employees.
Oh, they changed that. So I take that back from earlier.
So if you and Matt do your thing again, one of you is going to have to pay. I mean, pay. I mean, we're a sponsor, so we get some free tickets.
Yeah,
but,
we get tickets. And they don't count. We have to use their sponsor tickets anyways, even though they're giving us a free ticket, Jason, because they had a whole issue with, in order to get in the expo hall, you have to have an expo pass. So
That's right.
even if we're getting a speaker pass, like to them, Autodesk University, they don't care. If you're going to go into the expo early, you need an expo pass, which is, to me, wild. But anyways.
So yeah, here's a great idea, like how you're going to use Fusion, how you're going to be doing these things. I would encourage everybody who's listening to this to propose for both of them, right? If you don't get AU
Is there
and
a
you
cap?
get Unbound, great. 3. Good question.
You can only submit 3?
3. You can only submit 3 for AU. For Unbound,
that's wild, because I can think of like 10 different 20-minute sessions.
Well,
I could do.
Share them with your team. Share them with me, and then I'll talk with my team too. Yeah, because I got more than three ideas myself, and my team is smarter than me. So we'll see what they've got.
Man.
But yeah,
I'm just gonna do straight 20-minute sessions. That makes it so much more effective. Yeah, like there's no point in doing an hour long session. You know how much time it takes to prepare for it, and we didn't even have enough time to cover everything. Like if you can narrow something down in under 20 minutes to execute and show somebody, they're going to probably have a lot more 20-minute sessions than they are of any other classes.
Well, that's the thing. So last year, your class was so popular, you had to do it twice. You got asked to do it twice.
Yes.
In this format with the 20-minute ones, I bet there's going to be lower. There's going to be more people registering for them that you're probably going to have to do a 20-minute class 4 times. Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be cool.
Maybe. I don't know. That would affect your ability to go take other classes, and that would affect your time.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Jason. If you had the opportunity to go and listen to digital, let's just use digital twins because you saw it earlier. Hey, learn about digital twins in this hour-long session. Or what if you saw a title of all about digital twins under 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Which one would you go to?
I'm going 20-minute one. Yeah, let me go to 10 classes instead of 3 classes.
Yeah.
Right. So which goes back to, our goal for this episode was to talk about how to level up your presentations. So number 1, and to wrap this up, number 1 is read the freaking rules, read the guidelines, because AI, whether AI is helping you or AI is screening these, it's going to be looking for these bullet points. And if you're off, if it says, you've got 100 max characters and you do 105, you're out.
Yep.
Right? So do that.
I will guarantee you these companies, at least Autodesk for sure, is having some type of pre-screening AI. I mean, most companies have it now for like resumes.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. For submissions, a large company like Autodesk University, 100%. Now, XCon, I don't know. Well, Unbound, I don't truly know if they're at that echelon point yet, but I would almost assume like AI is around everywhere. They probably have to have some type of pre-selection, like a pre-selection criteria. Does it meet these? Go into this bucket, and then from there they start picking, right?
Right, because there's not a whole lot of classes, right? There's going to be, so the first day, September 30th, Tuesday, you've got a party, and then you've got breakouts in the afternoon, and then you've got breakouts the second day. So 2 afternoons worth of learning. So let's say that there's 200 classes. There's probably going to be 800 to 1,000 submissions.
Yep.
Autodesk University last year was 600 classes. Does that sound right? And there's probably 4,000 or 5,000 submissions. This year?
Last year, I think there was, yes, around 600 accepted classes,
Hmm.
and there was 3,000 like 700 submissions, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So your chances are not 100%, and they're certainly not zero. We encourage you to apply for both because there's a chance, a 0% or a 100% chance, somewhere in between there, that you're going to see Michael or myself and or one of us, both of them, later in September. And we hope to see you there, just as we hope to see you joining us here on MCR next week. So with that, I will wrap us up. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good April. Welcome to April. And Michael, take us home.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. And as always, we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.